Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Dutton-Jones and I'm a Kwantlen Polytechnic University Public Relations student. I'm here today with Dorothy Sitek, who is the President of Generation Communications. On Tuesday, March 25th, she did a presentation regarding how to think differently about reputation. Dorothy, thank you so much for being with me here today.
My pleasure, Samantha.
So one of the questions that I wanted to start off with was, what is a personal experience with you where you've seen a company have a good reputation or a bad reputation, and what was the impact that it had on you?
So I think the example that comes to mind immediately, because it was so recent, is the Apple shareholders meeting that took place February the 28th. You may know that Apple hit a huge high in 2012. It was declared to be the most valuable company in the history of the world, thanks to its great management and vision. And I think the stock price at the time was about over $600. And so there was, of course, worldwide media attention and a lot of celebration. And of course, it was recently after Steve Jobs' passing, so it seemed, it seems like such a fitting tribute to him. And then, sure enough, over the past 2 years, the stock has fallen quite dramatically. So it is beginning to recover somewhat. And the shareholders meeting was interesting because really the pressing question was, are you going to hang on to your shares? Did you hear today what you wanted to hear to encourage you to stick with the company, or will you abandon the company? And of course, once the shareholders were leaving the meeting, media asked that question. And so there was two interviews that I saw that really struck me. One was with an individual shareholder, and one was with a large, long-time institutional shareholder that one would be considered quite, fairly conservative. And what came through loud and clear was both were absolutely unequivocally supportive of Apple, that they heard all the things and have observed all the things that they want to observe that would give them the confidence and trust that the company is heading in the right direction again. So the kinds of things that were talked about, in particular, the individual shareholder said, he really understands and sees and knows that there's a lot of passion with the employees for innovation, for the product, and for technology. So that was something that struck me, because that's a factor in building great reputations, right? Is passionate employees.
Yeah,
The thing
definitely.
that the institutional shareholder talked about was great leadership, visionary leadership, steady leadership, a really confident hand on the wheel, and that was very important to her. The other things that she talked about were innovation, the fact that the company continued to be profitable, that there was going to be a better dividend this year, but really she was focused more on culture. She focused on employee satisfaction. She focused things. She's talked about things like integrity, community investment, and those are all the hallmarks of a great reputation. And in fact, when we measure reputation, those are some of the attributes that we look for. And that was quite a remarkable thing, because you have a great reputation when your shareholders, when your stakeholders stand by you when the waters are rough. They maintain, the good friends in fair weather and poor weather. And for sure, this was a great endorsement of Apple as a brand. And the most important thing in terms of the kind of work that I do is the foundation stone for a great reputation is having a clear, simple, universal statement of principle. So a guiding principle that determines all of your decision making. And in fact, Steve Jobs was brilliant at choosing a guiding principle. It was in everything that we do, we challenge status quo, and he stuck by it while he managed that company through thick and thin. And in all the kinds of things that he did, and quite iconically, he, in terms of developing the product and the software and the technology, to how it was packaged, to how it was sold, to how he dealt with the music industry. Everyone said they couldn't break through, and they did. So he definitely lived by that principle. He managed that company with that principle in mind. And it's absolutely paying off in maintaining a great reputation despite some tough times. So what will be interesting to observe with Apple is whether they continue to hold to that principle, which is challenging status quo, because that really talks to innovation. And that has been, the concern that's been expressed, whether they can maintain that pace of innovation. So, but it was an example that stood out for me because it absolutely mirrored what we know, what research tells us contributes to great reputations.
Right. Now, I remember you talking about Apple during your presentation, and another thing that you mentioned was the 6 different functions of what makes a good reputation. I know Apple probably touches a little bit about that, but could you maybe explain the other functions that go towards a good reputation?
Certainly. So there are 6 dimensions that are hallmarks of a great reputation. Those are the things that people look for to test whether you have a great reputation, in addition to a core purpose. So the 6 dimensions are leadership. So that's about vision. It's about being strong and having a forward-looking plan. The second one is, and by the way, these are in no particular order, your products and services. So people look whether you stand behind your products and services, whether there's value, and whether there's innovation.
Okay.
There is workplace environment. So how you treat your employees. Do they look happy coming to work? Does it look like a
Right.
great place to work? That matters to people. Community, that's a big factor. So social responsibility, environmental sustainability, those are things that really count today. And there is emotional appeal, so that's a little bit about your brand, but it's certainly also about whether you're well managed, well liked. And finally, it is financial performance. So for those companies that have transparent financial reporting, that's very important, and that's about profitability, stability. It's about future growth, and
Okay.
those are the 6 main dimensions.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and do a post-event interview with me.
My pleasure, Samantha.
Great, I really appreciate it. For more information on Dorothy Sitek, you can visit the CPRS website where there's a written review on her presentation. Once again, it was How to Think Differently About Reputation on March 25th. There's also more videos on the CPRS YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samantha.